To launch the fourth book of the series, Tijaran Tales. It's a space adventure for young adults, and obviously these are the first three books, and that's the launch for today. Tijara's Heart.
When I read the first book, I noticed that there are much less violence and conflict in at least the two first books than that there is in like Harry Potter or in Darren Shawn or some of the other books that are published for that audience, like 10 to 13, 14. Have you had anyone react to that or say anything about that in particular?
No one complained, but it isn't the first time that it was noticed. When I think of a starship, I think of Star Trek. I think of a place where people respect each other, where there is a lot of honor. I mean, I know that Star Trek it's also set in quite a violent environment, if you like, because it's space. You know, you have the conflict with the other races, etc. But I love to envision a society that is to come where people actually have a lot of respect for each other, and that's why, for example, even the kids as they're growing up in the relationship with their adult, they salute each other almost Japanese style. You know, like there is the sense of honor and tradition, and I like that very much. And you will have to have conflict because otherwise, it becomes quite difficult. But that's the kind of world that I want to see coming.
Because I have recommended it to parents who have children who don't like the violent way of the fantasy, especially maybe. And that they find these books better to read for their children. So it's nice to have an alternative to all that.
As I said, yes, I was pointed out. Thank you. No, thank you. I think there is a time and place for everything. I think as well. So thank you. That's very nice.
But I am looking forward to the conflict rising now.
Absolutely. Well, the boys are growing up, so lots of hormone steering as well. But we had a very interesting workshop this morning, and the theme was the first kiss. So the people that came to the workshop were writing their own scene of first kiss, and so it was very, very creative. Actually, there were a lot of very interesting things, and one of the things we said was that you really need to be mindful of the audience you're writing for, because no one, the famous room of requirement of Harry Potter, we don't believe it contained a 50 Shades of Grey side exit, so you gotta be mindful, and it would really look out of place, really. So yes, so from that point of view, whatever romance you start to introduce, etc., remember who you're writing for, because it would be incredibly strange if suddenly you're in, you know what I mean? There are books for kids that deal with serious and deep issues, but they belong to a different series altogether. That doesn't do anybody any good to actually blend and mix, different series or genre or styles. Basically, that's the bottom line. I could read a little bit from my last book. Now, don't forget. So these kids are obviously they train in the academy as pilots, and but it's a very different, it's a slightly different society in the sense that the moon has been terraformed, so people actually live there now, and we've had terrible chemical world wars which have basically reduced the world population to something like 2 billion people from the 7 that there were. And the scene is set in 2500, so we are a little bit further forward into the future. And some of the effect of these chemical wars is that for some kids there have been some alterations in their DNA. So obviously some of these kids have abilities and skills that allow them to manipulate matter with their mind. Anyway, at that point in time, where I just opened the book randomly, they were supposed to keep track of a portal in space, and one of these kids, he can't walk, and I purposely actually did not cure him. He's been a kid with disabilities, physical disabilities, since the very first book. Is a very clever technician, and he loves technology and all of these things. And his name is Faith Shanigan. The kids come from all over the world. He's quite obviously Irish, you can tell. So if you see that he actually says things like, the way he speaks is actually, written as such in the book as well. So they're not grammatical mistakes. I meant to do that. Okay. All right. So he's tampered with one of the spaceship to make it more, customizable, and of course that has created a massive trouble for the rest of the fleet. So here they're getting an absolute, hiding, yeah, by their chief. So I'm extremely disappointed, and so is Professor Clavel, said Chris. Of all the times you could have chosen to disobey orders and pull one of your stunts, you really picked the wrong one. Explain yourself. Julius felt slightly miffed by this particular ticking off. Hadn't they just prevented an enemy ship from entering the portal to Earth? What was he on about? Sir, after the pulse attack, we were cut off from Moon Rising, and Commander Fletcher, when we saw that the portal was going to be left defenseless, I gave the order to deactivate it, to prevent the nation's escape, and it worked. Cress was breathing deeply through his nostrils now. He made Julius think of a bull who was preparing to charge, which was most unlike the master of Tijara. Surely there was more to this than he was letting on. Let me tell you the story from our perspective, Mr. McCoy, said Cress. Toon 4 warns Commander Fletcher of a strange reading, which the officer pursues as per protocol. And that's okay, because he's trained for it. Then Toon 4 receives a direct order from the breach to pull back, which doesn't happen. And that's not okay, because you lack the training. Orders from superior officers must be followed. Julius could see that Cress was getting more worked up with every sentence, and he didn't like where this was going. If Mr. Shanigan here hadn't tampered with the Cougar's comlinks, you would have been able to hear us loud and clear, because, funnily enough, we have the technology to bypass the pulse attack. But you couldn't, because his system was fighting ours, he said, pointing at Faith. So, Fletcher couldn't tell you to get out of the way, but kept pushing their nation towards the portal because we had a plan. An entire team was waiting for this dratted shuttle on the other side of the portal, ready to catch it. But it never arrived. And do you know why? Because you broke the damn thing. It will take us hours to fix the core engine, delaying the entire mission by Alpha Day. The artifact would have been retrieved on the other side. End of story. Satisfied. Julius and Faith just stood there speechless, trying to digest Cress's words. Just who do you think you are? Continued Cress loudly, still in obvious need of letting off steam. After 4 years of training, you still treat us like we are the enemy, the people to contradict. There is nothing that we do on Zed that is meant to hurt you. Nothing. We are your family. And with that, he stomped around the table and sat down in his chair. That was quite embarrassing. Anyway, so there you go. Yes, like I said, we do have the room for us, so if you would like some more drinks or...
Or if people want to come up to buy the book and get a signature,
thank you.
Yeah,
Right.
seems about a good time for it.
It could be a good time, sorry, I don't know what I'm here for.
That's all one time.
You're here to sell books to those
I
of us
know,
who haven't
I'm not very
already
good,
bought
am I?
them. But I already bought it.
I know you did. Actually, I know the people in the audience that have already came to see me. Thank you. Thank you.
So,